Robinson. Ruth is going to talk to us about selling cross-border. Ruth is a Director of Full Circle Management Solutions. Ruth, could I ask you to come to the stage? Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Ruth from Full Circle Management Solutions. So we deliver the Intertrade Ireland Acumen programme, and we also deliver the Business Growth programme for Newry, Mourne and Down. But I'm going to talk to you today about selling cross-border. Obviously we're in a border town here, so hopefully a lot of you are already selling, potentially in your business already selling cross-border. We're just going to talk a little bit about some context, and then I'm going to share with you some success factors that we notice with businesses that we've worked with or that we've observed, so why they're successful in their cross-border efforts. So a little bit about context with cross-border sales. So Northern Irish total exports to the Republic of Ireland in 2020 were 4.1 billion. That was down on 2019. Obviously, COVID played a big part there. About 3.1 billion of that was in goods and about 1 billion in services. The total figures, so unfortunately, as happens when you go to statistical organisations, are a little bit behind when you're trying to get the data. So we don't have a figure from NISBC with a 2021 figure. And you'll have heard, there's a lot of headlines in a lot of reports in the press about that increase in export cross-border, particularly from Northern Ireland to the Republic. So we don't have figures yet from NISBC, but some data that we do have from the CSO, which is the equivalent organisation in Ireland, shows that the value of Northern Irish goods going into the south was about 3.35 billion in 2021. Don't have the figure for services, but anecdotally that's much higher as well. It's really increased from that 1 billion figure. So there's a really significant amount of trade going from Northern Ireland to the south. And when it comes to the number of exporters then, it's nearly 10,000 Northern Ireland businesses exporting to the Republic of Ireland. Again, that's the 2020 figure. Don't have it for 2021 or 2022 so far. And again, so within that, 5,930 in goods and 5,507 in services. And I think the point at the bottom is a really, really interesting one. So over half of all of those exporters are micro enterprises. So sometimes when we're thinking about export, the assumption is it's large businesses that are really successful in exporting. But more than half the number of exporters are actually micro enterprises. So people running very small businesses of up to 10 people and really successfully trading across the border. So in terms of what is being exported, so I've just got the top three categories, again taken from the NISBC statistics. So they probably won't surprise you that food and live animals is a key export sector. So food and live animals accounts for 927 million of that figure. And that's made up of things like dairy products, feeding stuff for animals, meat and meat preparations. And the next biggest category then is manufactured goods classified chiefly by material. And a lot of that really is our engineering sector. So it's structures and parts related to steel, aluminium, iron, etc. Then your non-metallic minerals, so that's cement, building materials, glass, pottery, construction materials. And then the third sector is machinery and transport equipment. So that's a lot of our OEMs, particularly in Mid-Ulster. You'll be well aware of them, I'm sure. So that is really that category. And that's road vehicles, machinery specialised for particular industries, general industrial machinery. And again, that's that figure has been updated, so it's not 3.1 billion, it's higher than that for 2021. So why should you, as a business, if you're not already selling cross-border, why should you consider doing it? So the first obvious point is the population of Northern Ireland is about 1.9 million, according to the 2021 census. And the population of the Republic is 5 million, and that's the 2021 estimate. So there's nearly 3 times the population in the Republic of Ireland. So the market is much, much bigger, and that provides you with a lot of opportunity. So much larger economy, and we see much larger projects available to Northern Ireland SMEs. You'll also be aware there's a lot of foreign direct investment in Ireland. So there's a lot of very large companies, big clusters, big industries, and that can provide so much opportunity for Northern Irish businesses. There's no trade border, and that's obviously been one of the good things about Brexit. There's no trade border, or not a good thing about Brexit, but a fallout from Brexit that has worked well in Ireland is that there is no trade border, continues to be no trade border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. So there's barrier-free trading. And in contrast then, the barriers that do exist in trading with GB, that can benefit Northern Irish businesses because southern businesses are looking more for solutions on the island to avoid that difficulty. There's been a real fallout, and I don't have a stat, but there's been a huge drop in the number of imports from GB into the Republic of Ireland. And the Northern Ireland businesses then have that opportunity to fill that gap. Also the ease of logistics, and this shouldn't be underestimated. You can get in your car, and well, from here you're in the south in no time at all. But it is easy from a logistics point of view. You don't have those, and everyone is very aware of the shipping, the difficulties in supply chain, the complexities involved there now, and the costs involved. But logistics on the island are very easy. So that's another really good reason for exporting on this island. Market similarities as well. So there's no language barriers. Particularly, or maybe accents could be an issue, but typically there's not language barriers north and south. And also better margins, and we hear this a lot, and that Northern Irish businesses, they find when they're trading in the south that actually the cost of living in the south is higher, there's an expectation that things cost more, and so for Northern Ireland businesses that's an advantage, that you're going down to a customer who potentially will expect to pay more for their goods than that equivalent customer in the north. So we hear that a lot from our businesses that trade cross-border. Okay, so what are the key ingredients for successful cross-border sales? So I'm just going to share with you some lessons from successful exporters that we're aware of and businesses that we know. So the first point really is being clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. So some of the most successful businesses that we've seen in terms of cross-border trading, they're very aware of what their strategy is when it comes to export. They have export sales into Ireland as a specific part of their strategy, and they know why they're there and they know what they're hoping to achieve from it. In contrast then, businesses that potentially do the Acumen programme and don't have that success, quite often what they're trying to achieve is quite vague, or alternatively it's wildly overambitious. They really want to take over the world, and they haven't really thought about how they're going to do that. So we really would encourage anybody who is considering cross-border sales, be clear on what it is you're trying to achieve, who you're trying to target, what sales level are you trying to achieve, having a clear idea on maybe the percentage of your sales that are going to come from the Republic, and the number of customers you're hoping to achieve there, the value of the sale that you're hoping to go for. Being quite clear on those targets really makes a difference. And also being clear on what will constitute success in your business, and that helps then, you can spread that through your organisation. The second point then is taking time to really understand the market in the Republic of Ireland. Don't assume it's the same as the North. Sometimes people make that mistake, just assume, we hear it even in reports that people make, oh, it's the exact same market in the South. It's probably not. So take the time to really understand the market. Look at the size of the market that you're targeting, the makeup of that in terms of, we deal mainly in business-to-business sales, so the makeup of that market in terms of what sizes of businesses are there, what number of the businesses, whereabouts in the country are they based. What are the sectoral issues that are impacting at the moment in that sector? And a lot of that at the moment you'll see it, with rising in costs, in energy costs and staff costs, skill shortages, all those sectoral type issues might affect the market that you're intending to target. Buy-in practices as well. So what way do your target customers in that market, what way do they buy? On the competitors front as well, we often hear, oh, we don't really have any competitors, nobody really does it the way that we do. Or we hear information that's based on assumptions. But what I would say is that the people that really research their competitors typically do the best. So if you are really clear on what your competitor does, you're more likely to be able to understand where they might be weak and where there might be opportunities that exist for you in the Republic of Ireland market. We had a client on Acumen a few years back, And they were specifically doing Acumen because they had researched their competitor and they had noticed that they were going after much larger businesses and mainly seeking customers off the island. So our client was going in specifically to target the smaller businesses that they realised were being really underserviced by this large competitor. And they were wildly successful as a result because they were really clear what they were going to do and they'd done their research. Third point then is making an effort to fully understand your potential customers and their needs. I mean, obviously that is not unique to a Republic of Ireland sales effort. It's for sales in general, but sometimes it can be missed, and it is a point that needs reiteration. So taking time to get to know your customers and understanding the problem that they might have, seeing it from their perspective and seeing how your solution might actually help them to solve that problem. But that does take time, and even understanding within different companies who's the right person that you need to be speaking to, or who's the decision maker, who's the right person for you to speak to in that business. I was speaking recently to an Acumen client called Diamond Systems, and they really zoned in on this. So they only targeted 5 building contractors in the Republic. They spent all their time building up a relationship with these big 5 contractors because they wanted to know everything about their business to give themselves the best opportunities. And they have, as a result, now had the opportunity to quote from 3 of those 5, and those are really large contracts. So they were really, really focused on getting to know the customer, understanding the problem, and then coming up with a really tailored solution. So obviously this does not be surprised to anybody. We've just had 2 really great talks on marketing. So marketing, or optimising your marketing efforts to complement your sales efforts. As I said, we're mainly in B2B sales, and I think in marketing for business to consumer, everyone is very clear on that. Sometimes in the B2B world, marketing is still the poor cousin of sales. And really, the most successful businesses in terms of Acumen, they're aware that that's not the case, that you need the marketing to complement the sales effort, that the marketing is raising awareness. So if you are still doing cold calling, it's not so cold if the marketing team has already potentially drawn your customers' attention to your business. I was speaking again to a couple of clients, one in windows and one in modular buildings, and they said they wouldn't have had any success in the south without the efforts of their marketing teams. A lot of them as well, in terms of tailoring their marketing, if they're doing business in the south, they're now making sure their brochures have examples of business that has been done in the south to give that local context, not just a lot of examples from Northern Ireland. And also in a straightforward sense, having a really good website, making sure that your SEO is up to scratch, so that whenever your client, once you've been speaking to them in the south, once they check you out, you've got that credibility online and you're showcasing some of the work that you've done in a region that's familiar to them. 5th point then is make it easy to buy. And it sounds straightforward, but if I had £1 for the number of times we've seen it where it's not easy to buy, I'd be very, very rich. So the problem that we see is that people are really keen sometimes to tell cross-border customers about their great product and about their great service and get them really enthused about it. And then when it comes to actually getting the contract signed and thinking about all that back-end stuff, that's where it can fall down because it's actually too difficult. So have you got a Euro account in place? Is it going to be easy for them to pay you? Have you thought about how you're going to do your distribution? Have you thought about servicing support after sales? We had another client who won a contract in Cork and then realised that actually in order to support it was going to cost them a fortune and it wasn't right at all. So you need to have those back-end processes thought through. Think about how your delivery is going to happen. And really what you're doing at that point is you're removing any reason not to buy. So at that final point, you're removing any reason not to buy by addressing the issues that are likely to cause a problem that need to be thought about. Number 6 then is focus your efforts. A lot of people make the mistake of targeting Ireland as a whole, or targeting too many industries when they start their sort of cross-border sales journey. They're a bit, they're like a headless chicken. They're going around the whole country, loads of different industries, loads of different types of customers. And then they get very frustrated because there might be lots of enthusiasm, the pipeline might look fantastic because there's all these opportunities, and none of them are moving through. none of them are leading to sales. And often that's because of that lack of focus. And we've heard it time and time again from clients that we've worked with. You know, they'll say, well, I used to target the whole area, now I only target the economic corridor from Belfast to Dublin. We had another client who only targets kind of Cork and the surrounding areas because they've previously had success in public sector work there, and they wanted to fill their order book with private sector work in that area. They already had a focus. We had another client who focused purely on the data centre market in Ireland and where that was clustered. So think about maybe geographical targeting. Maybe you're targeting a particular industry, particular stage of maturity. That might be a really good way, but you need to have some focus in your efforts. Otherwise, it's very hard to get results. No problem. The final point then is be prepared to dedicate resources to the export effort. And we hear from time and time again from our clients that this really makes the difference. So you might have been keen to do some trade in the south, but until you dedicated resources, there wasn't any success. And it's by having those, you know, and now it is actual boots on the ground. I know they were online for a couple of years, but they're back to being in person. People can go and travel. They can go and meet people. So having that resources and the support, again, available. So not only the resource from the salesperson, but resources in terms of marketing, etc. as well. That fits in with the final point that persistence is key. Like it is in your marketing, people talk about consistency as well. You've got to have persistence with cross-border sales. There's no silver bullet. It takes time and effort. And in order to help you with that time and effort and to help you with the cost of resourcing, you can look at the Intertrade Ireland programmes. So there's funded support available for cross-border sales growth, no matter what stage of business. So if you're new to it, you can get a trade accelerator voucher. That's £1,000 worth of sales and marketing support. Then we've got the Elevate programme, which is 5k of sales and marketing support. It's more specialist to develop the opportunity. And then finally, if you're ready for it, the Acumen programme itself, which provides 50% funding for a cross-border resource. And that's to really take your sales to the next level. And Intertrade would be delighted to hear from any businesses that would like to avail of those supports. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ruth. If I could ask the four speakers, to come on up to the stage, and Jarlath, I think Jarlath, you have a roving microphone. Just to say thanks very much, Ruth. 10% of businesses exported. Sorry, 10,000 businesses to the Republic of Ireland, over 50% of small micro businesses, less than 10. Interesting things there, you know, asking the question, why should we sell to the Republic of Ireland? And, you know, practically, if you think about a share of a cake, we have 3 times the population, obviously a large economy, opportunity for, you know, barrier-free training that you talked about, the margins being the expectation, the margins being greater. Thought a really good point you made there about the case study. When you're doing examples in a local, people say, well, who's done that in this country or in this region? Who's done that? I think to have that local case study, really, really important to help get it over the line or persuade someone, really, really good. And you highlighted the importance of having dedicated resources. I love the term boots on the ground, and great to hear that. And focus on your efforts, really, really important. And then, of course, you're involved in the range, helping businesses through the range of support that's through Intertrade Ireland and a number of different initiatives. Okay.